I sued my cousin for $6,000 to pay for my hearing aids after he threw me in the pool. My cousin Ethan always thought he was the funniest guy in the room. Family gatherings were basically his personal comedy show where everyone else was just the audience. But that day at my aunt's pool party, his joke went way too far. I've been wearing hearing aids since I was 12 after getting chronic ear infections that messed up my hearing. They're not the cheap ones either. These things cost $3,000 each and my parents had to save up for months to afford them. I'm super careful with them because I know how expensive they are. So I'm sitting by the pool talking to my little cousin Maya about her new hamster when Ethan walks up behind me. Without warning, he grabs me and shoves me straight into the deep end. I hit the water hard and immediately felt my hearing aids getting soaked. The panic was instant. I scrambled to get out of the pool while everyone was laughing like it was the funniest thing ever. Ethan was practically doubled over saying stuff like, "Come on, it's just water, and stop being such a baby." I pulled out my hearing aids and they were completely dead. Water was literally dripping out of them. I tried explaining to everyone that these things cost $6,000 total and weren't waterproof, but Ethan just rolled his eyes and said I was being dramatic. My aunt tried to defend him saying boys will be boys, and that insurance would probably cover it. When I told her my parents' insurance didn't cover hearing aid water damage, she suggested putting them in rice like they were wet phones. The worst part was when Ethan said maybe this was a good thing, because now I'd finally stop ignoring people when they talked to me. That's when I knew he had no idea how hearing loss actually works. My parents picked me up early and we went straight to the audiologist the next morning. $6,000 in damage, completely irreparable. The audiologist said pool water is basically poison for hearing aids because of all the chemicals. I had to go 2 weeks without being able to hear properly while we figured out how to replace them. Do you know how hard it is to take notes in class when you can barely hear the teacher? Or how embarrassing it is when your friends think you're ignoring them? When my dad called Ethan's parents asking them to pay for replacements, they laughed and said accidents happen. His mom actually said we should have told everyone I was wearing expensive equipment before the party, like it was our fault for not announcing my disability loud enough. That's when my parents decided to take legal action. We found a lawyer who specialized in personal injury cases and filed a lawsuit for the full replacement cost plus court fees. Ethan's family tried to counter by saying I should have taken my hearing aids out before going near the pool. Their lawyer argued that reasonable people remove valuables around water, but our lawyer pointed out that hearing aids aren't jewelry you take off. They're medical devices that help me function normally. The case took 4 months, but we won everything. The judge ruled that pushing someone into water without consent is assault, especially when it damages necessary medical equipment. Ethan's family had to pay the full $6,000 plus our legal fees. Have you ever had to put a spoiled brat in their place? I was working at this steakhouse called the Cedar Room when this family started coming in every Friday night. The dad would snap his fingers at me like I was his personal servant, demanding water refills before I could even set down their menus. The mom constantly sent food back, claiming it was too cold or too salty, obviously just fishing for discounts. But their son Nathan, this 14-year-old with the smuggest face you've ever seen, was the absolute worst. From the moment they walked in, Nathan acted like he owned the place. He'd make comments like, "Do you even know how to write down orders right?" and "Don't mess up my steak like last time," even though I'd never served him before. The kid would deliberately throw breadcrumbs on the floor while staring me down, then tell his parents, "This guy looks like he couldn't afford a haircut." His parents would just laugh and nod along like he was some comedy genius. Every week, I dreaded seeing them walk through that door. The hostess Sarah would give me this apologetic look whenever she seated them in my section. Other servers started avoiding eye contact when the family showed up, grateful it wasn't their turn to deal with the nightmare table. One Friday evening in December, I was having an especially rough day. My car had broken down that morning and I was already stressed about the repair costs. When I saw Nathan's family walk in, my heart sank. They got seated in my section again. I brought out their usual order, trying to stay professional despite Nathan's constant snide remarks. "I bet you can't even afford what's on this plate," he said with this evil smirk, pointing at his perfectly cooked ribeye steak. Before I could respond, he grabbed the edge of the plate and flipped it over, sending the hot steak and mashed potatoes directly onto my shoes. The gravy splattered all over my uniform. His parents burst out laughing like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. "Oops," Nathan said with fake innocence. "Hurry up and bring me another one, and clean this mess up." The mom wiped tears from her eyes and added, "Make sure the new one isn't overcooked like that one probably was." Something inside me snapped, but I kept my face completely calm. I apologized politely and went straight to the kitchen. That's when I had an idea. I found our manager Rick and told him about the situation, but instead of complaining, I suggested something different. "What if we give them the premium treatment tonight?" I said. "Upgrade everything to the most expensive options, but don't mention the prices up front." Rick caught on immediately and grinned. When I returned to their table, I was all smiles. "I'm so sorry about the accident. Let me make this up to you with some complimentary upgrades." I started suggesting the finest cuts of meat, premium sides, top shelf cocktails, and our most expensive appetizers. The family ate it up, literally. Nathan ordered the biggest lobster tail we had, extra truffle oil on everything, and 3 different desserts. By the end of the night, they had racked up a bill of $347 instead of their usual $80 tab. Every sauce, every side dish, every drink refill was charged separately at premium prices. When I presented the check, the dad's face went completely white. "This has to be a mistake," he said, his voice cracking. "We never pay more than $100 here." I politely explained that all the upgrades and extras were a la carte, pointing out each itemized charge. Nathan's smug expression had completely disappeared. The dad started yelling, demanding the discount they always bullied their way into getting. "We're regulars here. You people always take care of us." But Rick came over and stood firm, explaining that the prices were clearly marked and they had agreed to all the upgrades. The family left furious, throwing crumpled bills on the table and storming out. Nathan looked back at me with pure hatred in his eyes. His mom was practically dragging him by the arm while he whined about how unfair everything was. I thought that was the end of it, but the real satisfaction came a week later. The family tried to return for their usual Friday dinner, but Rick intercepted them at the hostess stand. He had already banned them from the restaurant for abusive behavior towards staff, and had security footage from multiple visits showing Nathan's destructive antics and the family's verbal abuse.
When did you find out everyone in your school was in danger? During the middle of a test, our loudspeaker turned on, and a voice we never recognized screamed out to the entire school, "Lockdown, lockdown. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." Everyone in my classroom looked at each other and total disbelief. Our teacher got right into action. She locked the door, pulled down the shades, and started instructing us. I need the strong boys to help me barricade the class door quickly. Everyone else hide in the back of the room and start texting your parents to let them know what's going on. I'm a bigger kid, so I helped barricade the classroom door with desks and a bookshelf with a couple others. While barricading, we heard footsteps run down the hallway, and we instantly all ducked. Us ducking scared all the students in the back to the point that one girl started having a panic attack. Everyone tried to calm her down, but I guess all of us crowding around her made it worse. She started to scream at the top of her lungs, saying, "I'm not ready to go to heaven." We tried calming her down, but our teacher wasn't having it. She covered the girl's mouth and stuffed it with paper. She cursed at her in silence, telling her to keep it down or she was going to risk all of us losing our lives. Just us, we got the girl to shut up. We heard shots down the hall. Half of us started crying while the rest tried to figure out an escape plan before it was too late. Our teacher told us that there were protocols that needed to be followed, but she had kids that she needed to get home to and needed to make sure we all got back home safely. She ended up making a makeshift screwdriver to pry open the windows. Then she directed us to jump into the nearby bushes. She told us, "I can't promise you won't break any bones, but you will survive." Just when the first group was going to start jumping, the loudspeaker turned on again. "The lockdown drill is now over, but do not leave your classrooms. I repeat, remain in your classrooms." Everyone cried out of relief, and students were texting others about what happened. More specifically, a video surfaced of a masked man. He emailed it to a couple people with a message saying he was going to Swiss cheese everyone in the building. Unfortunately for him, everyone recognized the voice behind the mask as our valedictorian since he did our morning announcements. In fact, that very same morning, he was the one who told us all to have a good day. A couple weeks after the incident, his best friend told us what had happened. Apparently, our valedictorian's mother passed away the night before our test, and he wasn't able to study, which drove him insane. So in his grief, he wanted to take down a couple teachers so that we would feel his pain and even out the playing field so no one did better than him on the test, and he could keep being valedictorian.
When did you expose someone for faking a disability? It happened when I caught my roommate Derek running a marathon while collecting disability benefits for his severe back injury. Derek moved in claiming chronic back pain from a construction accident. He got all the accommodations: ground floor dorm, elevator access, extended test time, special parking. The university bent over backward to help him. At first, Derek seemed legit. He'd grimace getting out of bed, walk with this careful limp, always complaining about pain levels. I felt bad and helped carry his books, but weird things started adding up. He'd forget to limp when nobody was looking. His physical therapy appointments coincided with campus parties. When I asked how therapy went, he'd just say, "Really rough today." The first red flag came during finals week. I was pulling an all-nighter when Derek thought I was asleep. Around 2 a.m., he quietly got up and started doing jumping jacks. Full jumping jacks for 20 minutes. When he noticed I was awake, he grabbed his back, groaning about muscle spasms. I confronted him the next morning. His response was immediate panic, followed by anger. "You don't understand chronic pain. Some days are better than others." 2 weeks later, my girlfriend showed me Derek's Instagram story from a music festival. Video after video of him jumping in mosh pits, crowd surfing, dancing for hours. That's when I started documenting everything. Photos of Derek playing intramural basketball. Videos of him at the gym deadlifting weights. Screenshots showing him hiking, rock climbing, doing parkour with hometown friends. The breaking point came when I saw a marathon participant list. Derek's name was there, not volunteering, registered to run 26.2 miles while collecting disability benefits. Race day, I positioned myself at mile 18. There was Derek, running strong, not even breathing hard. I took photos and videos of him sprinting past, looking healthier than most runners. When Derek got home that evening, he was limping worse than ever, complaining how his back was killing him from walking to the campus store. He had no idea I'd watched him finish a marathon in under 4 hours. I gathered all evidence: photos, videos, social media screenshots, race results showing a 3:47 marathon time. I submitted everything to the university's disability services, financial aid, and academic integrity board. Derek was called in for meetings. At first, he denied everything, claiming photos were doctored. But when they showed him marathon footage and official race results, his story collapsed. Turns out Derek's entire disability claim was fabricated. Fake medical records, forged doctor signatures, elaborate lies to get accommodations and financial aid. The university estimated he'd fraudulently received over $15,000. Within a week, Derek was expelled for fraud. The university filed criminal charges. He had to pay back all money received under false pretenses. His case made local news as a warning about disability fraud. The worst part? Derek's fraud had delayed accommodations for students who actually needed them. While he got priority services, legitimate disabled students were on waiting lists. Derek's parents called screaming about ruining their son's life, but I kept thinking about students who couldn't get help because Derek was hoarding resources meant for people with real disabilities. 6 months later, Derek had been running similar scams at his previous college and high school. My report exposed a pattern of fraud stretching back years. The university implemented stricter verification procedures and created an anonymous reporting system for suspected fraud, catching several other fake claims since. Derek transferred to community college in another state and learned to keep athletic achievements off social media. Last I heard, he was working construction again, which makes sense since his back was fine all along.
What was your school's black market? One of my best friends ran our school's black market, and he dealt in handmade custom knives. You see, his dad was a bladesmith, and for some reason had no problem cranking out professional knives and even swords for his son to sell in school. It was the school's biggest kept secret, until one time after Halloween, my friend sold to a kid who was known for being mentally unstable. I remember specifically telling him not to do it, but he shrugged me off saying the kid was paying 25% more than the knife was worth, and to not sell would be bad for business. Well, 2 days after he sold the knife, I was sitting in English literature class, which I happened to share with the kid who had bought the knife. We were just getting started discussing the themes of some Shakespearean play when the mentally unstable kid walked in. Like some sort of samurai, he proceeded to unsheath a goddamn katana and just eyeballed the teacher. Every single student instantly got back against the wall as fast as we could, and I remember someone even peed themselves in fear. We all watched as the student started inching closer to the teacher, katana in hand, muttering something to himself. Well, as soon as there was enough of an opening between him and the classroom door, everyone made a run for it, leaving the teacher completely alone. We all scattered and started screaming around the hallways trying to draw attention, but by the time other staff members caught wind of what was happening, it was too late. The teacher was alive, but he was missing a hand, and the student was gone. From what came out in court later is that this teacher had previously done inappropriate things, we'll call it, to that student's sister, and so as revenge, the student decided to take the teacher's hand. Questions about where he got the katana never actually came up, as the student just said he got it off the black market, and as a result, neither my friend nor his dad faced any legal consequences.